Alright, what's up y'all? It's Joe Motto here. Today I'm going to be discussing who I believe is going to win the NL Central. Alright guys, I am a Milwaukee Brewers fan, but in reality, they're not going to win the NL Central. The two teams that I do believe could win the NL Central are the Chicago Cubs or the St. Louis Cardinals. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to talk about between these two teams are strength of schedule. Currently, the Cubs are going to have an easier schedule coming up. They have the 17th easiest schedule in MLB coming up in this next month and a half, compared to the St. Louis Cardinals' 14th. So that'll be a big thing when it comes to winning games. One of the biggest aspects in a winning ball club is pitching. And one of the biggest statistics in pitching is ERA, or earned runs average. Currently, the Chicago Cubs have a 4.00 ERA compared to the St. Louis Cardinals' 4.18 ERA. That's a big thing when it comes down to actually scoring runs and not giving up runs. The Chicago Cubs give up less runs than the St. Louis Cardinals do, and that will help them when it comes to winning ball games. Another reason why I believe that the Chicago Cubs have better starters than the St. Louis Cardinals comes down to two other statistics, and that is batting average and walks. The Chicago Cubs have a .253 batting average compared to the Cardinals' .261 batting average. So that pretty much means that the Chicago Cubs give up less hits than the St. Louis Cardinals, and they won't hurt themselves as badly when it comes to giving up runs. Another thing is walks, and walks can be crucial when it comes to losing ball games. If you give up a ton of walks, most of the time you're not going to win that ball game. The Chicago Cubs are clearly better at this category, having given up only 205 walks, while the St. Louis Cardinals have only given up 249 walks. So you can see the Cubs are better at both of those categories, and their starting pitchers are more dominant than the St. Louis Cardinals. Another aspect of pitching is the bullpen, of course. You need a strong bullpen if you do want to win games. And I'm not going to lie, the St. Louis Cardinals do outweigh the Chicago Cubs in this category. Currently, the St. Louis Cardinals are third in ERA compared to the Chicago Cubs' ninth in ERA. Again, that's not really a big margin, but that still proves that the St. Louis Cardinals do have a better bullpen than the Chicago Cubs. Overall, when you're talking about the better pitching organization, though, the Chicago Cubs do outweigh the St. Louis Cardinals by a lot. And when it comes to pitching, you need a strong pitching staff in order to win ball games. Alright, so we're going to talk about the offensive aspect of baseball, which comes to hitting. So obviously, we're going to compare some basic stats, such as batting average. The Chicago Cubs currently have a batting average of .253, compared to the St. Louis Cardinals at .244. So that pretty much means that the Chicago Cubs are getting on base more and they're setting their team up more for runs. Now we're going to talk about actually scoring runs, which is RBIs, or runs batted in. The Chicago Cubs currently have 606 RBIs, while the St. Louis Cardinals currently have 533 RBIs. So we can tell the Chicago Cubs are just better at scoring runs than the St. Louis Cardinals, which is a huge factor when it comes to winning baseball games. And now in a league, when it comes to hitting home runs is key. The top 5 teams that hit the most home runs are currently all first in their division. So obviously hitting home runs is a big factor when it comes to actually winning baseball games. The Chicago Cubs currently have 200 home runs, while the St. Louis Cardinals have 157 home runs. So Chicago clearly dominates St. Louis when it comes to hitting home runs, which will come down to winning games. And then the last thing is the amount of hits that each team has. The Chicago Cubs currently have 1,079 hits, while the St. Louis Cardinals currently have 1,027. So the Cubs are clearly getting more hits and therefore setting their teams up to win offensively. Alright, so I talked about some basic stats already. Now I'm going to go into some more advanced stats. So first we're going to talk about on-base percentage, which is pretty much how many times a player gets on base, via walk, via hit, etc. The Chicago Cubs have a .352 on-base percentage versus the St. Louis Cardinals, who are at a .316 on-base percentage. So as you can see, the Cubs are getting on base more and they're setting their team up to win better. Another statistic we're going to talk about is slugging percentage. Now I know a lot of people don't really know what slugging percentage, so I'll tell you. Slugging percentage is pretty much the total amount of bases that a player gets divided by the number of at-bats. The Chicago Cubs have a .451 slugging percentage, while the St. Louis Cardinals have a .406 slugging percentage. So as you can see, the Chicago Cubs are getting on base more often. Another statistic that we're going to talk about is OPS, which is pretty much the combination of on-base percentage and slugging percentage. The Chicago Cubs have a .783 OPS, while the St. Louis Cardinals have a .722 OPS. So as you can see, the Chicago Cubs are dominating the St. Louis Cardinals at every hitting aspect, and they are the better hitting team. When it comes to winning division, it never hurts to have depth, of course. The Chicago Cubs, I believe, have more depth to their program than the St. Louis Cardinals. They just acquired a lot of key pieces, such as Nicholas Castellanos and Jonathan Lucroy, and plus they'll have Wilson Contreras coming back very, very soon. So as you can see, the Chicago Cubs have better depth than the St. Louis Cardinals, who really don't have much depth besides their own starting lineup. Overall, I believe that the Chicago Cubs will win the NL Central. I'm not saying that another team couldn't win it, such as the Milwaukee Brewers or the St. Louis Cardinals, or even the dark horse in the Cincinnati Reds, but I do believe overall and statistically that the Chicago Cubs are the best team in the NL Central. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed the content, and again, please like and subscribe if you want to see some more sports analysis. Thank you. Peace out.